Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honors, and glories to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, and then my rest of the apostles and elders of great millstone salutations to the hopeful elect. This is your brother. I am Nawal Allah from Gemma, Chicago, and coming back with you with another lesson. And basically, I'm just going to a quick lesson about what you see here on the news. And I heard about the elders talking about it, and why not, I make a lesson out of it because, hey, of course, we're living in some perilous times, but hey, right here, this is being done in the green tree, all right? And of course, Esau is getting exposed at an all-time high, but hey, look at the narrative that Esau is pushing on the news right now, all right? They're saying that, team takeovers are becoming a problem, right? But meanwhile, all right, you got, PDF file E, all right, is roaming around, all right, committing wild acts, all right. He's committing a lot of wild shit, all right, a lot of vile shit, and some very disturbing crimes, man. Some very um, disturbing shit, and to this very day, he's still getting away with it, all right. And you got uh, the EP stain PDF files that just got released, and a bunch of names were listed into those files, and hey, to this very day, all right, nobody's doing anything about it, all right. The same wicked ass so-called white man is still in power, all right. He's still, still ruling, all right. And nobody's doing anything about it. But hey, the scripture tells you that the earth is given unto the hand of the wicked, all right. If not, where, who, and who is he? All right, he's the one that's covering the faces of the judges thereof. He is the one that's currently in rulership here today. All right, and what Esau is doing right now, right, he's causing havoc. Right, he's causing chaos. All right, but nonetheless, as you can see on the news, all right, CBS News, it's more I would say trustworthy, but hey, of course, at the end of the day, you can't believe everything that's on the news. But right here, all right, that the fact that this came out, and that the fact that they dropped this man's charges, all right, for murdering a 10-month-old baby, all right, is some real wild shit, all right. They're basically letting a serial killer out, man. And hey, Esau Edom is very known to commit very heinous crimes, right? Some very, chaotic shit. Heinous, shockingly wicked, evil, or utterly reprehensible, all right? Especially a crime, act, or behavior as shockingly wicked, evil, utterly reprehensible. And hey, look at this man. Like, look, this is Esau Edom, right? His case just got dropped, man. All right, this wasn't too long ago. This is literally last month. All right, a few days ago, man. Child murder case against Colorado man dropped after DA's interview to be retired. All right, retried, however you pronounce that word. But hey, this is on the case against William Jacobs, and this case was dropped. All right, basically they just let this man go.
This week, the case against William Jacobs was dismissed by a judge in 2024. It followed comments made by then District Attorney Linda Stanley during a TV interview. She was later disbarred. Her replacement then appealed to get a retrial of William Jacobs. And this Thursday, the Court of Appeals unanimously agreed. You may remember Linda Stanley from the failed prosecution of Barry Morphew. He was arrested in the 2020 killing of his wife, Suzanne. Stanley was the lead prosecutor and reportedly mishandled the case and made improper comments to the media then. The case was eventually dismissed by a judge and Morphew was released.
Well, there you have it. I mean, just let.
Showed she only had a few hours of sleep after drinking well into the morning of the.
Let's look at another one. This one's pretty good too.
A great education starts with
Charges
strong
reinstated for
foundations.
Colorado
That's why we
man.
use AI with intention. Ethical, guided tools that empower students to learn confidently with support that meets them where they are. And for families, staying connected is simple. Updates,
Means being
messages, and
restored
what
to a
matters
former
most, all
position,
in one
status, or
place. We
condition.
pair
It is
innovation
described
with
the actor as
programs
getting
that shape the whole
something back
child.
that was
From
previously lost,
farm-to-table
revoked, or
nutrition to
suspended.
the unmatched experiences of Civil Air Patrol. At CMA, students are supported, challenged, and inspired. We don't just rise, we elevate with precision.
New since we were last on the air at noon, we have a mugshot of a man who is facing charges again in the death of a 10-month-old child. The undersheriff of Fremont County sent us this photo of William Jacobs. I also heard back from the 11th Judicial District Attorney's Office, who tells me they're not going to be commenting on a Court of Appeals decision to reinstate charges against Jacobs. He was arrested in Canyon City in May 2023 following the death of a 10-month-old child. That's according to police. 1 year later, a Fremont County judge ordered charges against Jacobs to be dropped. According to the appeals court's decision, his lawyers argued comments made by the former 11th Judicial DA, Jacobs to be dropped. According to the his lawyers argued comments made later, a Fremont County judge ordered charges against Jacobs to be dropped. According to the appeals court's decision, his lawyers argued comments made by the former 11th Judicial DA, Linda Stanley, during a local TV interview about Jacobs were a violation of ethical standards and amounted to outrageous government conduct. The current 11th Judicial DA appealed the district court judge's decisions. I read through the appeals court ruling, and in it, the judges say while they don't condone the former DA's actions, her conduct, quote, does not satisfy the stringent standard for finding outrageous government conduct as set forth in the case law. I also reached out to the public defender's office, which is representing Jacobs, and I'll let you know when we hear back.
But nonetheless, I'm gonna go to this one. All right, child murder case against Colorado man dropped at the DA's interview to be retried. The Colorado Court of Appeals ruled Thursday that the criminal case against a man charged with the murder of and the death of a 10-year-old month baby should be retried. In order reverses the district court judge's dismissal of the order reverses the district court judge's dismissal of the murder case. After then, the district attorney made inflammatory comments in a television interview. The case against William Jacobs was dropped in June 2024. I mean, that's what they were explaining in the video. We just watched it. But, oh yeah, here we go. The main part. All right. Because of those statements, other comments made about her office investigation into and later failed prosecution of Barry Murphy. At one time, the primary suspect in the murder of his wife, Suzanne Murphy, Stanley, was disciplined by the state. Stanley was ultimately disbarred, meaning she not only lost her job as DA, but was banned from practicing law in Colorado until further notice. At roughly the same time Stanley was disbarred last year, Jacobs was released from jail. Stanley replacement Jeff. Damn. Yeah, what the fuck? But let's see right here. 10-month-old Edward Hayes died on May 23, 2023. 2 days earlier, Canyon City Police Department officers had been sent to a motel room where a baby was found unresponsive. A nurse stayed at the motel. Investigators, she overheard an incident in a neighboring room. Seeing Hayes' condition, she called 911 and started a CPR according to an arrest. Later, Hayes was flown by a medical helicopter from a local hospital of the Children's Hospital in Colorado Springs. It was there that he was pronounced deceased. Jacobs, then 21 years old, was believed by investigators to be the last person to have taken care of the baby. He was already in jail on a felony child abuse charge when Hayes died. Almost immediately, prosecutors added the first-degree murder charge against him. The child's mother and Jacob's girlfriend, at the time 20-year-old Brooke Crawford, was allegedly at work when the police went to the motel room. Crawford was also charged at first with felony child abuse, and prosecutors pulled that back to a misdemeanor in January 2024. Damn. Prosecutors pulled that back to a misdemeanor. So basically, they just let this man go. In January 2024, Crawford pleaded not guilty to that misdemeanor count and another misdemeanor for Anima Curley, and was scheduled to go to trial. However, proceedings were suspended and the case has been in a limbo for the last 2.5 years. No new hearings for Jacobs or Crawford have been scheduled yet. Well, basically, this man, all right, he saw him, all right, this wicked man, all right, he just basically murdered a baby, all right? And they just basically, they treat his case like very simple, that basically, if a so-called black man or Hispanic man, all right, were to murder just one individual, it don't matter the age, all right, woman, an old woman, or another person that's the same age, or a young man, if a so-called black or Latino were to murder just one individual, right, they would immediately be, charged with murder, all right? But in this case, all right, they let this man go. They treat it like it's nothing, all right? All right, which also proves that, hey, this is Isa Edom, all right, right here, all right? He is not trouble like other men. All right, it says Psalms 73 and 5. So let me go into the full chapter. Yeah, I'm going to start with verse 3. For I was envious of the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked, for there are no bands in their death, but their strength is firm. They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. And that's right. Esau Edom today, is still not troubled as other men. Of course, you see a lot of them are receiving the curses, of course, but hey, a lot of, these elites, sorry, these people in these high seats, and these people that are basically in rulership today, which, the majority of them is really just Esau Edom, all right? They're not troubled as other men, all right? They're committing a lot of, heinous acts, all right? A lot of murder, and they're still getting away from it to this very day. And you look at the case with William Jacobs, right? You see that man, all right, is basically walking freely right now, all right? But if that were to be a so-called black or a Hispanic, all right, they would treat that as an instant murder case, all right? They would throw him, into prison until the day he dies, man. But when a so-called white man does it, all right, they say, oh, he just has mental disabilities, right? He has mental problems, all right? Oh yeah, this man right here, this so-called white man right here, all right, yeah, he might shoot up a school, but hey, we're gonna treat it like it's nothing, and so we're just gonna let him go. And that's what you're basically seeing here in this world today, all right? Esau Edom is, he decrees unrighteous decrees, all right? He thinks to change the times and the laws, man, and it's basically what he's doing, all right? He's bending the rules, all right? And that's basically what you saw right there with William Jacobs' case, right? They were basically bending the laws, all right? Because, hey, the one that basically controls the laws is Esau Edom any damn way. But this is Daniel chapter 7, verse 25. It says, "And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and to think to change times and laws." And that's what Esau Edom is doing to this very day, all right? He's speaking great words against the Most High. He's, making himself as if, he's God, all right? He is wearing out the saints of the Most High, the children of Israel, all right? You so-called blacks, Latinos, and Americans, you guys are oppressed under Esau's rules, laws, and regulations and shit, which is why you're in the position in this society today, all right? You people, you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans are being treated as shit, all right, underneath Esau's rule, all right? They basically label you as, the number one problem of, the number one problems with the earth. But meanwhile, Esau Edom, he's being exposed to this very day, and he's still getting away with crime, all right? With this heinous acts that he's doing, all right, with pedophile and murder crimes, man. He's still getting away from it to this very day, all right? And he's changing the laws, he's bending the laws and shit, all right? And he's walking out freely and shit, all right? This is the wicked that is in rulership today, all right? It says, "And they shall be given into his hand until a time and in times and dividing of times." But right here in the NLT, it says, "He will try to change their sacred festivals and laws, and they will be placed under his control for a times and a half times." All right? And, basically, the Esau Edom is in rulership today, all right? The Lord put him up there, all right? Really, ultimately, at the end of the day, to punish the 2/3 of Israel because, they sin against Yahweh B'Shem, Yahushai. All right, but at the end of the day, all right, real soon, the Lord is going to take this man out of power. All right, this is verse 26. "But judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion." But judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and destroy it at the end. All right, and real soon, that's what the Lord is about to do. All right, he's about to take Esau away, out of rulership, all right? Because what, he basically, he's fucking up everything, man. The world, all right, the earth is in mourning when the wicked rule, all right? Proverbs 29:2, "When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice," but you don't see people rejoicing. All right, you're seeing people that are basically struggling. You see people that are mourning. You're seeing protests, riots. All right, and the majority of them protests and riots are really them protesting and rioting against the elites, the powers that be behind the scenes, pulling the strings. They're causing all this chaos all around the earth. All right, Esau Edom, the one that is basically fucking, taking away peace from the earth by the weight of the sword. All right, but it says, "But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn." And that's what you're seeing here in society today. All right, the people are mourning, right? Because the wicked are in rulership, man. All right. And this right here, well, this case, all right, they just brushed this under. They just brushed this under the carpet, like nothing happened. All right, they just brushed this case under the carpet like nothing happened. But meanwhile, all right, you got Esau painting a narrative as if, Jake is a problem. Teen takeovers. As Jake is a problem. All right. Yeah, these, you got Jake killing their very own people. But hey, they get thrown in prison and then they never come out. But when it comes to Esau, all right, yeah, they might be there in a little while, all right, but at the end of the day, they're going to be, taken out of prison, all right, for only just they're only in prison for a short period of time, just like we just saw with William Jacobs' case. All right, they treated his case lightly, even though he murdered a 10-month-old baby. All right, that's a baby right there, man. That so-called white man just murdered, man. Right? He literally murdered a baby, an infant, man. 10, 10 months year old, just only 10 months. All right, and they still let that man out. They still treat it like if it wasn't a murder case, man. All right. Yeah, this is how you know that this system is all rigged, is all fucked up. All right. There's a bunch of nonsense. It's bullshit, man. But now let's hope this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praises, honors, and glories to Yahweh B'Hashem, Yahushua, and Shalom.